Welcome to the video, everyone. Before we start, a big shout out to our sponsors for today. FOCO. If you don't know what FOCO is, this is what FOCO is. This is what FOCO is.
That is what FOCO is behind his head as well.
Click the link. Check out FOCO. If you use the code cftvyt, 15, you get a 15% discount. They got some really good stuff. Lots of funky gear. Very nice. Little Hawaiian shirt.
Love it.
Check it out.
Hi everyone, welcome back to Chelsea Fan TV and welcome to another episode of Around the Corner. Around the corner for Chelsea is their first away game, which just so happens to be Wolves away. A day which ruined many fans' Christmas last year. As you remember, Chelsea played Wolves and lost on Christmas Eve. Arguably a game, probably maybe one of the worst away games, because just so much turmoil broke out on the internet after, and it just caused a lot of questions. There was a lot of Pochettino outers then, and it was just a game to forget. One of the few positive bright sparks in that game, Christopher Nkunku, who came on to score what was a pretty much pointless goal by then because game was done and dusted. If I remember, it was quite late as well, so yeah, there was really not enough time for Chelsea to really do anything to get back into that game. So we go again, and this time round we've kind of disarmed them because we've got Pedro Neto, someone that came to Stamford Bridge in February and caused lots of trouble, if you remember. Again, another game which sent everyone in absolute craziness. So yeah, I think those two games last season where Wolves did the double over us were among the most negative, pretty much. And yeah, I remember being there at Stamford Bridge against Wolves, and it was just shocking. It was enduring pain. And yeah, I don't even think the scoreline reflects it very well, 4-2, because we kind of got back into it, but did we really? No, not at all. So it's time to put that to bed. It's a new slate, it's a new season, it's a new Chelsea, it's a new manager. So hopefully this could mean that we have a good chance, and many fans will be eager to see a better performance, to see us play as a collective, because we can all kind of agree that Man City was underwhelming, and then cfctvyt in the Conference League just a couple of days ago was also below par in terms of performance, what we expect from Chelsea. But ultimately we got a result there, which was necessary in the end. But yeah, I very much would like to see a better performance, start to see a little bit more of Maresca's kind of philosophy being implemented, and hopefully some players get rewarded with game time that they've now kind of shown that they deserve. Obviously Maresca made a very interesting point about, well, if you don't work hard, you don't get in the team. It's as simple as that. Obviously paraphrasing it, but he basically said that if you work hard, you'll play. If you don't, you won't. And nobody here is a guaranteed starter at Chelsea. So it's interesting to see how he will make his decision based off the last two games with who starts. It's really hard to call the lineups, pretty much, because again, I don't really know our best centre-back duo, for example. I don't really know kind of who starts in defence. I think he's pretty much clarified that Robert Sanchez is number one in the Premier League, and Jurgensen will get game time in other comps like Conference League, perhaps the domestic cups too. But until he is proven or given a reason not to start Sanchez, which I'm sure would be sooner rather than later, he will be starting him. So I know a lot of Chelsea fans were very open, myself included in that bracket, to seeing Jurgensen play on Sunday, purely because he displayed some very good saves. He looks quite composed on the ball, and I think he was not given enough credit for the fact that he pretty much kept the clean sheet, because easily could have had cfctvyt score. They looked and they came pretty close to scoring a couple times. So yeah, we're talking about a different story here had they scored. So yeah, I think again it will just be interesting to see Robert Sanchez get on. Again, like, just because I don't rate the player that highly, it doesn't mean that I am hoping he fails. No, I am hoping he proves us all wrong. Clearly Maresca sees something in him. He, in summer, pretty much said that he would be his favourite goalkeeper over like a Petrovic, who impressed us last season. So yeah, slowly we're kind of starting to see Maresca's thinking style a little bit more, but Sanchez most probably starts in goal. In terms of our back line, again, I think he's chopped and changed quite a bit. Tosin looks quite comfortable against cfctvyt. Do you start him in the Premier League? Do you go for a Colwill and Fofana situation? Because arguably Colwill got a lot more minutes last season in the Premier League in a Chelsea shirt. Wesley Fofana coming back from injury. But again, I think in terms of what Wolves are going to put up front, I think there's going to be a lot of pace there, and I think, you know, Malo Gusto, for example, is much welcome in this lineup to pace, right? And again, he's great defensively. Offensively, we know that Enzo likes to use an inverted fullback as well, so if you have a situation where Marco Cucurella starts again on the left, even though some fans might say that Vega deserves a start. See, these are the decisions that we're, you know, now having to make. But I do think that Maresca's not going to gamble too much with this game, and he might go for experience a little bit more in someone like a Cucurella for this game, just purely because Wolves are going to be a tough side. They've also lost their opening Premier League fixture. They're at home. It's a tough place to go. And we know that Wolves always make it tough. They're just that team, aren't they? And they're going to turn up against us. I just know it. And we saw even when they played Arsenal, they still caused them some trouble where they were really capitalising on mistakes that they made. And that is what Chelsea does time and time again. We let opposition capitalise on our mistakes, and more often than not, it leads to a goal, a punishment of some sort, and it's just not really anything we want to see. So we need to really make sure we're on top of our game, not making silly mistakes, and that goes for our defenders mostly, I think, because what we saw even against cfctvyt is we were very easily exploited at the back, and I think that, you know, teams are now kind of learning that, and yeah, it's just not going to work in our favour. Enzo Fernandez came on as a substitute and provided the assist for Madueke's goal, and he seemed to be quite bright in the fact that he went for a forward pass as opposed to a backward pass. How refreshing is that? Now, I keep saying this, I want to see our players be more direct. I want to see more kind of, you know, forward passes being played, kind of playing it behind a defender's back, but it's time and time again where we just see someone receives the ball, it's recycled, it's sent backwards, sideways, and all over the place. And it's a little bit like rugby. And it shouldn't be. So I think he might start Enzo purely because, again, he's our captain now in terms of first pick anyway. I think he probably rested him for the cfctvyt game, and now he's probably back in fit to start. You know, he gave him some minutes, but then again, Lavia, equally someone that came on. Does he start? Because we saw in the Premier League against Manchester City, he was quite competitive with City's midfield, which is a good sign. And I think that someone like a Lavia, who's now coming back to full fitness, you just simply push that, invite him to play more. So I think they probably might start alongside each other. That's not to say that Caicedo, you know, deserves to be dropped or anything. I think it's going to be an interesting call to make, actually, because Caicedo also repped the captain armband against cfctvyt. But again, I think he is still experimenting with his midfield, and I think he's just kind of working things out. Now, Madueke scoring the goal, getting the second goal, which kind of made it a more comfortable scoreline, has proved that, you know, he is working hard and he's improving. So it could be a call that Enzo makes where he starts him, but we know that Madueke perhaps prefers playing on the right. I'm not too sure that he likes or plays very well on the left. I think we've seen him a few games, but it's not his most comfortable position. So I think maybe you're looking at him as coming on as a sub again, purely because he brings you energy. He will kind of look to take on his man and perhaps brings you that extra kind of fresh legs on the pitch. So I think purely for that, I think Cole Palmer probably starts on the right. I would really like to see Nkunku in the 10 or playing behind our striker, because I think he's just so much more effective in that role. And I think that he was a little bit isolated because, you know, when we do play with kind of two out and out wingers and a striker, I think they really struggle, like against City especially. They were both very isolated on the flanks. So I would very much like to see Nkunku. I think we see him behind a Jackson, because while Jackson has, you know, arguably had a bit of a tough time, has had criticism, I think we're looking to push his performances, build on them. So I do think that he probably starts. And then you've got a decision. And I don't know if anybody is really going to argue on this one that it's got to be Pedro Neto, surely, on the left. Now, I've seen a lot of people kind of talk about Joao Felix. I'm just not too sure that he is fit to completely start this game, or I think he just comes on as a substitute. I just don't know if Enzo Maresca would go for Felix to start. But Pedro Neto is now our weapon down that left-hand side, and I hope, because he knows this team inside out, you know, Wolves trained with them, played with them, scored with them, hopefully can score against them. And yeah, it'll be interesting to see how the Wolves fans kind of welcome him back, what their attitude towards him is. I mean, I'm sure if he scores, it's not going to be a very positive one. But yeah, I think in terms of kind of attacking forwards, I think we need to just kind of capitalise on our chances. It is what it will ultimately come down to, and we cannot make mistakes because Wolves have enough pace to expose us and punish us for that. But guys, let me know in the comments down below your predictions. I'll be keen to find out. Make sure you're subscribed to Chelsea Fan TV and hit the like button below. Sunday, tune in to our watch along that I'll be hosting, and it will be fun. We'll be joined with a good panel, so please make sure you tune in for that. Turn on your bell notification so you don't miss it. Safest way to go. And yeah, guys, I hope you have a lovely weekend, and up the Chels.